Through most of the day, the White House flew the Stars and Stripes as usual, while elsewhere in the Capitol and across the country, flags were at half-mast.
Mr. President, do you have any thoughts on John McCain? Thank you.
Trump refused to say a word about John McCain when asked to at 3 different photo opportunities throughout the day.
Mr. President, any thoughts on John McCain, sir? Thank you.
The disparagement of McCain has a long history. In 2015, Trump dismissed the Vietnam War veteran's heroic reputation as undeserved.
He's not a war hero.
He's a war hero.
He's a war hero.
5.5 years.
He's a war hero because he was captured. I like people that weren't captured, okay? I hate to tell you.
When McCain cast the deciding vote against the repeal of Obamacare last year, the president's belittling of him became an obsession.
And except for one senator who came into a room at 3 o'clock in the morning and went like that, we would have had health care too. We would have had health care too.
But in a farewell letter read by his former campaign strategist, McCain seemed to fire back to directly address Trump's America.
We weaken our greatness when we confuse our patriotism with tribal rivalries that have sown resentment and hatred and violence in all the corners of the globe. We weaken it when we hide behind walls rather than tear them down.
Trump's refusal to acknowledge McCain's service to country only made him an easier target for his political enemies.
And particularly at a time like this, losing a hero, you ought to be appreciative, you ought to be humble, you ought to be trying to bring the nation together instead of dividing us.
Suddenly there were signs Trump had been chastened by the onslaught of criticism. His daughter Ivanka spoke of McCain as
an American patriot who served our country with distinction for more than 6 decades.
Just before 4 o'clock this afternoon, the president capitulated. The flag came down, and Trump allowed the release of a statement his staff had crafted on the weekend. Despite our differences on politics and policy, it said, "I respect John McCain's service to our country." Keith Bogue, CBC News, Washington.
Now, Trump's change of heart aside, John McCain did have one more message for the president. He's asked specifically that Trump not take part in his funeral. Vice President Mike Pence will be there instead. McCain's body will lie in state in the Arizona Capitol on Wednesday. Then he'll be taken to Washington to lie in state in the U.S. Capitol building on Friday, with a memorial service taking place on Saturday at Washington's National Cathedral before McCain is finally laid to rest Sunday in the Naval Academy Cemetery in Annapolis, Maryland. Now, it's only after that the decision about who fills McCain's Senate seat will happen. And the man who has to make that call, Arizona's Republican Governor Doug Ducey. Whoever he chooses will serve at least 2 years in office until the election in 2020. And there's no shortage of candidates. Former lawmakers, state officials, even McCain's widow, Cindy McCain, has been mentioned. One of the big questions Ducey will have to grapple with is whether to choose someone with the same mindset, the same kind of independence McCain was famous for, or does he choose someone who will more consistently back Trump? It's a critical choice because Republicans have a narrow 51-49 majority in the Senate, and it's about to decide whether to confirm Trump's nominee for the Supreme Court, which is another choice that will have consequences for years.